Hey there, everybody. Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with a look at this very cool pouch from the company Tactical Geek. This here is the EXT14, which at the time of this video is technically in the Kickstarter phase. Now, this should be coming to the standard market very soon, but the Kickstarter phase releasing a number of different fabrics, a number of different colors, and today we're going to take a look at this in general overview fashion. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is I am truly, I guess I'm intrigued by the company Tactical Geek in general. As you take a look at their catalog, they have a lot of really neat products, very well made, a lot of fantastic materials, design elements, great hardware, excellent overall construction and design. And so when I saw this EXT14, I was very intrigued. Now, the people at Tactical Geek did reach out to me to see if I'd be interested in taking a look at this. So before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Tactical Geek who did provide this for review. And so as we start to look at this in detail, as I mentioned, there are a number of different fabrics. Now, this one here in this tan, this is what they call their T500 fabric. Pretty much as you get a close look here, you'll see it is a fairly standard and traditional ripstop nylon 500 denier weight. So that is the T500. Then they also have a couple other really cool fabrics. You'll see the X-Pac VX21 and then the T60 fabric, both of which are just really nice high quality fabrics with good strength, tensile strength, ripstop capability, yet slightly lighter weight. This is going to be a little bit of that heavier duty material, which I personally like, and it was really the tan that I did really enjoy about this particular colorway. And you'll see that all of the hardware is absolutely fantastic. So it has these really just unique buckles. The buckle and hardware here, magnetic, and you can see as you just clip it into place, it's actually pretty slick design. And these are what are called the Fidlock magnetic buckles. You can see there, it's kind of like a one-hand design. Now, it would take a little bit of getting used to and some practice, but as you see here, you can certainly manage this one hand. Definitely on the way off, but then to reconnect it here, it does take just some practice and a little bit of dexterity to get used to it, but at the same time, you can definitely do it. Quality YKK zippers, and you can see that these are weatherized, which is awesome. So the weather resistant inverted zipper tracks, again, very nice. That's going to help keep the contents dry on the inside, and that is certainly the case across the top as well. Now, as we open up, you can see that high vis interior. Not only do you have that on the exterior pouch, but on the inside, the main compartment, nice and bright, easy to see inside and identify your contents. That goes also through the pocket on the front. Now, as we take a look at the contents, I just put some basic items in here to give you an understanding of the size and volume. This is not large, and I can tell you right away that I am definitely going to struggle just a little bit with exactly how I use this. And not only is this, I guess, fairly tight in overall size and capacity, but because this is a crossbody style, I also will struggle. Now, I personally don't really like the quote-unquote man purse. That's not really my style. And as we take a look at this, you will see that this does utilize a nylon shoulder strap, which does have a bunch of attachment points, adjustability, some hardware. So it's a nice strap, and you can see it's actually fairly easy to allow you to get this to length, and you can really cinch this down if you want and get this to an appropriate size depending on your ride style, your body geometry. So that's nice. And it has these super quick, steel or aluminum, I can't quite tell, but clasps that just clip onto the outside here. Now, you'll notice that this does leverage some webbing, so it just literally clips right into place. For me, I probably would I guess style-wise, prefer not to use these. And I would probably use this more with the MOLLE attachments and connect this to one of my bags. You can see MOLLE across the back, standard spacing, heavy duty bar stitching, which is fantastic. So again, depending on your style, it could go a couple of different ways. But for me personally, I just don't really like a man purse. So I probably won't use this too much, although I am going to be testing it with it just for the experience. But the items that I pulled out of here are trying, in my opinion, to speak to EDC and how you might use this. Now, let's just say you don't want to carry your pocket knife in your actual pocket and you wanted to leverage this organizer. There are some slotted pockets across the front, and this is probably your best bet. Now, you'll notice right away that not only is this a very small pocket knife, but it is not very deep in terms of the slanted pockets on the front. So you probably need to run this more towards the back and kind of get it into place. And what I found a little bit funny here is that the strap in the front is actually offset. So it is not centered. You have about 1 inch from this stitching here, and then, you know, the edge of the pocket to the webbing. And then you have about 1.5 inches from this side to this webbing. So you have more space on this side of the pocket, which I don't know if that's on purpose and by design, or if it's just that this particular strap wasn't centered when it was manufactured. But regardless, you can see that fits in here. Now, of course, this does sort of lend itself, I would say in many ways, to what looks to be the ability to put cards or something like that. I personally wouldn't keep anything super sensitive on the outside, just from the standpoint that it could fall out. However, it is nice that your magnetic clasp here does go over the top, which should help keep most things in place. For the example, here's a small Right in the Rain notebook, and you'll see that this can fit in here in a couple of slots, so fits almost perfect in the back. And if you wanted, you could certainly fit it in the front. So that does work out fairly well, and I would say this is something that would kind of be nice just to have in here with a couple of writing utensils or something like that. Now, speaking to writing utensils, there is no designated spot or admin section in this, but you could certainly just utilize that front pocket and then slip the pens, pencils, whatever in here. Now, this particular pocket, you'll notice, does load from the top, but also from the side. So you do have a couple of different directions you can get into this. So the nice thing about that is if this is closed and clipped, you can still get to your contents from the side. For me, I would probably tend to keep my wallet in there, but you'll notice that my wallet is just a little bit bulky. Now, it's not too bad, but it does press out just a little bit, and I can tell you already, because of the construction of this and the overall size, this will struggle with what I consider to be competition of space. In other words, something in this pocket will bulge in both directions, and where this is not gusseted, and actually you'll see that it's even on top of that tapered to the bottom. Yes, it does open up towards the top, but it's tapered to the bottom. The bottom of this is going to get real tight real quick, and it's going to bulge in funny areas. And by the end of it, my wallet is actually pressing into the main compartment. And then therefore, let's just say I take this power bank, put this power bank in there. The power bank is then going to bulge into the back, which means that this is not going to sit flat. So unfortunately for me, just from the design perspective, I struggle sometimes with the fact that if this doesn't sit flat, you're going to have a hard time with your MOLLE attachments, or if you choose to leverage that shoulder strap and crossbody this, well, then you have something that's becoming round, and that doesn't necessarily sit on your body and ride the nicest way. So in a perfect world, what I would really love to see is that this sits flat on your back or on a pack the entire time. Therefore, the rest of the construction needs to be gusseted in order to allow the materials and items to bulge more forward rather than pressing towards the back. And another thing that would have been nice, in my opinion, would have been some pen slots just a couple to allow you to put pens down inside or manage some gear on the inside with no internal compartmentalization here. It does leave you sort of open to what the user would like to do, but at the same time also means that everything in here is going to be floating around. You could certainly get yourself your own little organizer and slide it in here. That's probably what I'm going to do. And in fact, if you've been keeping an eye out on Maxpedition, they have these little platies. And what would really be about perfect is to leverage one of these small platies inside here, give me a little bit of subdivided capability in this pocket, and then when I need the contents, simply slip it out. And I'm sure Tactical Geek also has small little sort of organizers that could slide down in here as well. Now the next thing is on the sides, you can see there is just some shock keeper here on the right hand side, stiff webbing on the left hand side. Now, typical EDC item, I would love to keep a standard flashlight, your 18650 or 21700 style. In a perfect world, I would love the side of this to be more of a pouch or slot, that when I take the flashlight and actually install it, and you can see you can do this, but it's tight. And once this thing's loaded out, I could see this being difficult. You can clip over the webbing, but then this is kind of flapping in the breeze. Again, that's okay, but I think what would have been better is if this was more of a sleeve and dedicated and designed around typical flashlights, typical flashlight sizes, and therefore had the ability to slip this down inside and have it all contained, not flapping around, and that would have actually been fantastic for this purpose. So it does leave this in my mind a little bit questioning, what do you use this for? What's the purpose? Now, I do like the design aesthetic. They kind of do this slash from the top all the way to the bottom. From a design and aesthetic perspective, it's cool, but from a functional standpoint, I just think it leaves a little bit to be desired. Which takes me to this side, and you could do the same thing with the shock keeper. And again, that's fine. And get the flashlight stuffed under here. You can clip this, and that's okay. And maybe what I would like to do then is take the bezel end of the flashlight and just tuck it under that webbing, and that way it would be completely secure and it would accomplish exactly what I'm talking about, but the webbing's not long enough to even slide this under there. It's almost there. It would have been perfect, but in my opinion, I think it's just leaving, again, a little bit to be desired from the functional standpoint. So can you do it? Yes. Is it optimum? In my opinion, no. I'd rather have a little more security if I'm keeping tools on the outside of my man purse. Which now, as we take a look at the main compartment, this is pretty cool where you have a little bit of subdivision in there. Now, I have a pretty large phone, full-size Samsung, and as I slide it down inside, you can see it definitely has enough room to make it all the way right to the top, but it does fit. Now I could put this inside. You'll see that there's this little kind of mesh sleeve on the inside. This can certainly tuck inside of that, which helps to keep it a little bit separate, so that's cool. And then on this side, you'll notice that there's a sleeve right down in here, and it actually has a pull tab. And what that allows you to do is put cards down inside here. Like, for example, here's my business cards. And sliding those down inside, you'll notice they do fit perfectly. And that is an RFID blocking section of this. So you could put your bank cards, credit cards, anything that has a level of security, and that will work out just fine. And when you need to take these out, you get on that pull tab and you pull it up. And it does allow you to easily extract those. So from that perspective, it's pretty cool. Now, would I go as far as to say I'm now going to take all of my cards out of my wallet and transfer them to my EXT14? Probably not. I don't like that level of security. And in fact, there's a high probability I'm going to put this down somewhere. So for me, I probably would never take my cards out of this, but you certainly could. And so does this give you some ability? It does. Where do I think it would work out even better? For me, personally, I think this might make a decent little gym bag. So if you're somebody that needs to go to the gym and you want to have your essentials, like your phone, like your ID, maybe a couple little things that, keys, whatnot, get you in and out of the gym, yes, perfect. And more so as we flip this over and take a look at the top, you can see just that nice, simple zip across the top. Take your earbuds, pop them in here, get your, house keys, throw them in there, zip this up, sure. Car keys, well, you're starting to get tight. So even right away, as I'm just simply trying to get car keys, earbuds, and my house keys, this gets a little bulgy. Now, it can do it. And the nice thing is, this is not really a problem in terms of what I was talking about, competition of space. You'll notice that because this flap is completely on the outside, and this does have a little bit of adjustability here, as you flop this over, not too big of a deal. But if you're not careful, you'll see that the contents ride down towards that seam, which is the hinge, and gets in its way and prevents its ability to fold over. So the items need to be really positioned to allow this to fold over and then clasp. So again, in my opinion, even though I think this is pretty cool, it's just a little bit awkward from my perspective, and especially for the types of gear that I'm going to be looking to carry in something like this. Now you've seen that there is a morale patch right on the front, a nice large morale field, very cool. Pretty simple, and overall rounds this out. You also have additional hook and loop on the inside to put your own personalization if you so choose. Now, a couple last thoughts. As I mentioned, I would really love this to be kind of that miniature little go to the gym style bag, which I think is really where this would play well. And I would love to really take my sunglasses, put them in the case, and slide that inside my little man purse. But it's not going to fit well. This is a little tight. And if you do get them in there, which it will go, you limit your ability to carry anything else. And at that, it bulges again towards the back. So although I do really want to like this, and I am definitely drawn to some Tactical Geek, their pouches and organizers and their gear, and I think some of their designs are fantastic. In my opinion, this particular design, it just doesn't work well for me. It might work perfect for others. I have seen people successfully use this in other demonstrations and videos, but for me and for my purposes, I find it limited, A, due to the fact that I'm not really a big fan of the crossbody man purse. I do like pouches. I do like a chest carry, but this to me is a little more purse-like, which is not my personal style. Second is, if I was going to utilize this with the MOLLE, this really needs to stay flat. And regardless, it needs to stay flat. And I feel like just the triangular construction here, and then the fact that this angles down and stitches almost to a point at the bottom, doesn't give this any flexibility to bulge out, which means competition of space inside this organizer is going to be tough. So this is going to be extremely limited, again, in my opinion. And again, never mind the fact that if you wanted to use this for more of an outdoor organizer, you certainly could. But things like even small fixed blades are going to be limited in terms of their ability to fit. You'll see that they bottom out. There's not a great way to attach these on the outside without any sort of danger that they're going to fall off. You could potentially leverage some of this webbing, or you could clip a fixed blade to the back. But to me, again, for that outdoor application, just a little bit limited. And so again, the Tactical Geek EXT14, really cool conceptually, very nice construction. I just think for my particular needs, it's going to be limited due to its construction. I don't necessarily think that everybody's going to struggle with this because, to each their own, and I can definitely see where this would come into play. Again, I'm going to reiterate that I think this would be fantastic for just bopping over to the gym, having some basic essentials, the real easy things. But overall, I would say for my particular needs, it definitely leaves a little bit lacking. And so with that, guys, thank you for following along. Thank you to Tactical Geek, who did provide this for review. If you guys want to find this for yourself, do me a favor, look in the description box below where you can find all of the links. And with that, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.